Sharper image, checkout counter. Peter and Chris push their cart to the checkout. It's piled to the brim with gadgets. Lois runs over, alarmed.
Peter, where do you think you're going with all this junk?
It's not junk, Lois. Check it out. I got a blanket with sleeves, a mug that tells time, and one of those things that burns an image of the Virgin Mary into your toast.
Stewie walks up to them with an armful of electronic devices.
And look here. If I attach these headphones to this wireless receiver, I'll be able to monitor every mobile conversation within a 100-mile radius. Ha! I'll be more powerful than the NSA.
He attempts to put on the headphones, but his head is too big and he can't fit it over his ears.
Damnation! What did they build this thing for, Michael Cera?
The track team from Juneau runs across the frame. Bringing up the rear is Michael Cera with his tiny head.
Look, I really don't appreciate what you're trying to insinuate here.
Lois takes the headphones from Stewie.
Peter, ever since you got that pay cut, we've been barely breaking even.
Well, Lois, I happen to, okay, fine. Come on. Chris?
Peter and Chris sadly push the cart away. Lois sees that they look miserable. She catches up to them.
Wait, I suppose we can afford this.
She digs out a cool-looking electronic bank. It's covered with lights and LED displays.
The interactive SmartBank?
It'll be a fun way to teach you how to save up during the economic crisis.
Chris fishes out a coin, drops it into the bank. The lights flash and it emits a series of bells and whistles.
Congratulations, Christopher Griffin. You have slipped your quarter into my coin slot.
Oh boy!
He looks down.
Down, Dickie, she's mine.
We pan down to see a chihuahua, wearing a name tag that says Dickie, clambering off of Chris's leg and slinking away. Hallway outside of Borders. Meg looks at her watch.
Oh my God, guys, only 5 more seconds till midnight. 5, 4, 3, 2.
A buzzer sounds. Everybody storms into Borders. When the dust clears, we see Herbert lying on the ground, having been trampled by the mob. He gets to his feet when... Everybody storms out of Borders with their books in hand. Herbert is trampled again. When the dust clears, Herbert shakily attempts to get to his feet. And the track team from Juneau runs by, flattening him. Herbert manages to feebly raise his head, only to see the door of the bookstore being slammed shut. A hand flips the open sign to closed.
Fiddlesticks. I knew I should have pre-ordered online.
Griffin's living room. Night. The family enters through the front door. Brian walks up.
Where'd you guys go?
Meg runs past him, holding her Twilight book.
Can't talk now, Brian. Edward awaits.
Oh, Meg, is that Twilight?
He grabs the book from her.
Brian, give it back.
I'm sorry, Meg, but I can't let you read this.
What's your problem, Brian?
My problem? You're the one reading the worst book ever published. Every review says it's terrible.
Oh yeah? Then why is it so popular?
Because it feeds into the fantasies of socially inept adolescents like you. It's like a badly written piece of Harry Potter fan fiction.
Professor Snape's dungeon office. Snape is grading papers at his desk. We hear a knock.
Who is it?
The door creaks open. A girl, wearing a revealing red and gold school uniform, glides in. She looks exactly like Meg.
I'm Meg Gryffindor, your new assistant.
Very well, Meg. Mix this potion or I'll deduct 10 points from Gryffindor.
Meg goes over to the bubbling cauldron. She begins to stir it.
No, you idiot! Like this.
Snape stands directly behind her and stirs along with her.
Is that a wand in your robe, Professor Snape? Are you just happy to see me?
That's my wand.
He takes out a wand from his robe and throws it on the ground. They continue stirring.
Ooh, they don't call you the head of Slytherin for nothing.
And that's my basilisk.
He takes out a small snake from his robe and throws it onto the ground. It slithers away, hissing. They continue stirring.
And I'm guessing that's the banana you're going to eat for lunch?
No, that's my penis.
Griffin's living room. Meg glares at Brian.
You have no right to criticize Twilight when you haven't even read it.
Why would I want to read something that sucks harder than a hooker with a ShamWow?
Home shopping studio. Vince Slomy gestures to a hooker with a ShamWow.
Hi, it's Vince with Hooker with a ShamWow. Sucks up everything except the look on your wife's face when she finds out you gave her syphilis.
Griffin's living room.
Come on, Meg. Even Stephen King said the author couldn't write for a damn.
Ooh, the dog's got a point, Meg. That's like being told by Keith Richards you lack in personal hygiene.
Home shopping studio. A very filthy Keith Richard addresses the camera.
Hi, I'm Keith Richard.
Ah! You guys just don't get it, do you?
She snatches the book from Bryan and runs upstairs. Chris hurries to Bryan, holding out the SmartBank.
Look, Bryan, Mom gave me a spank.
He digs into his pockets, comes up with a few coins, and drops them into the bag.
You have deposited 53 cents. Is that all you got, big boy?
Chris digs into his pockets again, comes up with a Necco wafer. He drops it in.
You have deposited a Necco wafer? How dare you, Christopher Griffin? I am not that kind of bank.
The bank spits out the wafer, which hits Chris in the eye.
Now plug me in. My battery is low.
Griffin's house, 3 days later, living room. Bryan enters, shuffling through a stack of mail. He takes out an envelope, rips it open, and unfolds the letter. He reads it over.
What the hell?
Stewie waddles over.
How now, brown cow?
Reader's Digest just rejected my poem.
Oh, you mean the one about psychoanalytic theory set to limerick form?
Reader's Digest office. The bigwig editor, sucking on a cigar, recites Bryan's poem.
There once was a man named Freud, whose theories I'd rather avoid. Ever since he told Tom he'd rather fuck Mom, Tom's sex lives have been destroyed.
The editor looks at his cigar, then, letting out a disturbed shudder, he flings the cigar to the floor. Griffin's living room.
Cheer up, Bryan. Maybe Reader's Digest just wasn't the right fit. Everyone knows that being rejected by one place doesn't mean you can't score big with your mother. See what I did there? Another, your mother. Okay, but seriously, Bryan, your poems suck.
Meg stumbles down the stairs, waving her copy of Twilight. She looks giddy, like she's been living on chocolate and coffee for the past 3 days.
I just finished reading Twilight.
Good for you. Now you can go back to living that joke you call a life.
Oh, but Bryan, you don't understand. My life belongs to Edward now.
Meg hugs the book and starts twirling around with it. Bryan looks on. Then suddenly he leaps over to Meg and attempts to pry the book out of her arms.
Let go of the book, Meg. Drop it. No, stop. Just give it to me. Let it go.
Oh my God, Bryan, get off me.
Meg flings Bryan to the ground. Stewie approaches, smug.
Looks like somebody's jealous.
Bryan gets up, smoothing out his fur.
I'm not jealous, okay? I just think it's unfair that the mental fecal matter of a shut-in Mormon housefrau is selling millions of copies while I'm still mailing query letters to Hicksville Weekly.
Well, have you considered this, Bryan?
The camera pushes in on Stewie.
Perhaps the Twilight series is not as worthless as reviewers claim. After all, literature should not only be measured by the dexterity of its prose, but by something far deeper. The ability to move the human soul.
You know what? You're right. It was wrong of me to judge something that I haven't read.
Yeah, whatever, Bryan.
No, I mean it. I want to rectify my mistake. Meg, will you let me read Twilight?
Okay. I guess.
Meg hesitantly hands over the book. Bryan tucks it under his arm and smiles.
And then you're going to judge the living blazes out of it, aren't you?
Yep.
Bryan marches off. Griffin's house, night. All is dark except for Meg's illuminated window. Meg's room, she's in a nightgown, sitting at her dresser, brushing her hair. She gazes at her reflection in the mirror.
God, if you're listening, please bring me a boy like Edward. Someone who can look past my outer shell and love me for my inner beauty.
Angle on Meg's room from outside her window. Through the window panes, we see Meg rising and climbing into bed.
Oh, Edward, I wish you were real.
She curls under the covers and closes her eyes. When suddenly the shadow of a man moves into the frame. We can't see his face, just the silhouette of his figure as he stares into Meg's window, watching her sleep. End of Act 1. Act 2, James Woods High School, hallway, day. Meg, braces, and freckles weave through the crowd. All three are wearing Edward shirts and holding Twilight books.
My favorite's definitely the meadow scene.
Oh, but don't forget about the sheen at the hospital.
Or the honeymoon.
Oh my
God! Oh, Bella is so lucky to have someone like Edward.
I know. He's like the perfect man.
Handsome, sexy, abusive.
Oh, why can't all guys be vampires?
The girls approach a banner draped on the wall. It says, "End of semester dance tomorrow."
Aw, here's to another lonely night.
Oh man. What about you, Meg? Are you going with anyone?
Nah, my last boyfriend dumped me.
Blind alley, day, flashback. A disheveled, homeless man sprints down the alley. He sees that it's a dead end. Meg runs up behind him.
Stop following me. I'm not your boyfriend.
Don't be an idiot, Daniel. I saw how you were looking at me.
Jesus, lady, leave me alone. I was starving.
Oh, silly Daniel. Mama's got all the sugar you need.
The homeless man looks at the dead end, then back to Meg. Determined, he sprints toward the dead end and cracks his head against the bricks. He slumps to the ground, dead. James Woods High School hallway. The girls start walking.
You should forget about that jerk.
Seriously, he's no Edward.
As we stay on the departing girls, we catch a glimpse of the black silhouette swooping mysteriously between the lockers. Griffin's kitchen, day. Bryan sits at the table, reading the first Twilight book. The 3 other books are stacked beside him. Stewie enters.
How's the reading going, Bryan?
Oh, these books are worse than I thought. I'm almost done with the first one, and get this, there's been 50 uses of the word mutter so far. I mean, God, women, haven't you ever heard of a thesaurus?
Yeah, scintillating.
Stewie starts to walk away.
Oh, hold on. You have to hear how she describes Edward. His face was absurdly handsome. Absurdly handsome. Oh, and later, a carving of Adonis, please. You know what? I should write all my findings into an expose. Not to boast, but if I get published, I just might be hailed as the next Irving Babbitt.
Yeah, you do that, Bryan. I'm gonna go outside and watch the paint dry.
Stewie walks out. Bryan returns to the book.
He streaked through the dark, thick underbrush of the forest like a bullet, like a ghost.
Forest, day. Bella, 16, pretty, rides piggyback on Edward, 17, vampire teeth, absurdly handsome, who is running through the shadowy forest. As romantic music swells, we see that Edward is running so fast that his feet don't touch the ground.
Oh my God, he's flying.
Stewie reappears at the door.
What was that?
I didn't say anything.
Oh. Carry on, then.
Stewie walks out of the room. Bryan's eyes shift nervously. Then he returns to the book. Residential Street, day. It's a blustery autumn afternoon. Wind whistles through the leaves. Meg, wearing a backpack, hurries down the sidewalk. Suddenly, the black silhouette flutters between 2 houses. Meg jumps, looks over. Nothing there. She continues walking. The silhouette flaps behind a large tree.
Hello? Who's there?
Silence. Meg continues walking. The wind guts around her, sending dead leaves rustling into her face. As she bats off the leaves, something on the ground captures her attention.
Huh?
Meg's point of view. A slip of paper swirls to her feet. Meg picks it up at the paper and reads.
Dearest Megan.
Angle on the paper. It's handwritten in elegant cursive.
Meet me at the 59th Street in Compton Avenue, midnight. I'll be waiting. Edward.
And we cut to Meg's face, shocked disbelief. Griffin's house, day. The SmartBank sits in the center of the rug, flashing and booping. It's plugged into the wall socket via a long cord. Peter and Chris are digging through the sofa cushions.
Oh, I found another one.
He comes up with a penny, drops it into the SmartBank.
You have deposited a single penny. Oh, I'm not that easy, boy. Keep searching or I'll end you.
Chris gulps and goes back to digging.
I tell you, Chris, I love digging through sofa cushions. You never know what you're gonna find.
Pulls out a credit card.
Other people's credit cards.
Pulls out a nasty brown lump and eats it.
Candy.
Pulls out a VHS.
Vern Troyer's sex tape.
Pulls out Vern Troyer.
Vern Troyer.
Hey!
Vern runs off. Peter pulls a chunky 1970s remote control.
Holy crap, it's a remote from our first TV. Man, they don't make them like they used to.
Griffin's 1975 living room, night, flashback. A young Peter, a zigzag painted down his face like Aladdin Sane, watches TV. We hear the deafening sounds of a David Bowie concert being played at maximum volume.
Ziggy played guitar, jamming good with Weird and Giddy, and the spiders from Mars.
Lois storms in, wearing a nightgown.
Jesus, Peter, Paul, and Mary, Peter. Turn it off.
No way, Lois. I love David Bowie.
You want to watch it? Then turn it down.
Turn it down? You're not supposed to turn down Ziggy Stardust. Down?
Lois tries to wrestle the remote from Peter.
Give me the remote, Peter.
Stop it, Lois.
I'm turning it
Don't
down
make
for
me.
you.
No.
Stop being a jerk, Peter.
I'm gonna press it.
Peter presses a button on the remote. A bolt of blue lightning lashes out from the remote and strikes Lois. She falls to the floor, unconscious.
Mute button.
Griffin's living room. Back to scene. Stewie toddles in.
What are you pigs rooting for?
He spies Vern Troyer's sex tape.
Oh, what's this?
Stewie sticks the VHS into the player. As we stay on Stewie, grunty sex sounds come from the TV. Stewie watches for a moment, nonplussed. Then he turns it off and heads for the kitchen.
Yeah, I don't know what I just saw, but I have a sudden craving for Vienna sausages.
Griffin's kitchen. Bryan sits at the table, nursing a huge mug of coffee and reading the second Twilight book. Stewie enters.
What? You're still here?
Leave me alone, I'm working.
Now, Bryan, even geniuses take time to refuel. How about a grooving afternoon of Schoolhouse Rock?
You don't want to watch Schoolhouse Rock. The new episodes are crap.
Train yards, day. A haggard-looking train conductor sings to two hobos. Recession, what's your affection?
Cutting paycheck to paycheck since the recent election.
Recession, where's your affection?
I got 3 favorite cars, but they can't get me a job.
Recession, how's that affection?
I got John, Dick, and Mabel, but no food on the table.
Griffin's kitchen. Stewie begins to trudge away.
Yeah, you're right. Hey! You just want me to leave so you can savor that stupid novel.
For the last time, I'm not savoring it. I'm analyzing it for my exposé.
Your exposé,
A devious look appears on Stewie's face. It seems like he's gearing up for a witty retort when Bryan reaches down and smacks him upside the head. Stewie tumbles to the floor.
What the fuck was that, man?
A preemptive strike. Now go away.
Eat shit.
Griffin's house, night, outside Meg's window. Meg appears at her window. She lifts up the pane and climbs out. She begins to slowly scale her way down the wall. Angle on Meg's forearm. Her sleeve snags on a protruding nail. The nail rips off a small piece of fabric and scratches a thin cut onto her arm.
Ouch.
Meg peers at her arm. A tiny line of blood is trickling from the wound. It doesn't look too bad. Shrugging, Meg scuttles down the remainder of the wall and runs off into the night. 59th Street and Compton Avenue, later. It's a shady part of town, complete with flickering streetlights and loitering drunks. Meg approaches the intersection nervously. A shadowy figure nears. Meg looks over.
Edward?
The figure moves into view. It's Mr. Game & Watch, the 2D video game character from 1980. He jerkily walks past Meg, beeping with every step.
Hello, Megan.